Hello, you. This is going to be a video on Lucha Underground, and I'm pretty sure I have talked some about Lucha Underground before, but this is going to be about wrestling, and have never got around to making a video on this, even though this was really the main source of wrestling that I enjoyed or watched for the last few years, because really starting around 2013, or since really about the last time The Rock left, um, wrestling has been shit, pretty much all of it. There was some good stuff with Ring of Honor, but nevertheless, for the most part, it's all been crap. So I watched a lot of Lucha Underground, and it is something like if you're not even a wrestling fan, it is something like you have never seen before. It is an incredible show. It is a throwback to ECW and the Attitude Era and all of that stuff, but it is so different in the way the show is produced is just it's very artsy. It's kind of like a it's very artsy. I'm sorry, I'm boring you. It's very artsy. It's kind of like it's like a grind film kind of, or it reminds you a lot of like a grind film, kind of like Machete, Machete Kills, that kind of fucking film. Or like just like one of those grind films, you know what I'm saying? Or like just it's very artsy and it's very different. And it has like cutscenes that remind you a lot of a video game. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting TV show, and I really enjoyed watching Lucha Underground. And it's basically Lucha Libre, but it's produced like a television show, like an actual television show, and it's a soap opera. And one of the things that I loved about it, but let me say this first, is first the subplot is there are these Aztec medallions. I believe there's medallions, Aztec medallions. And that's kind of the subplot is who will win these medallions or whatever, I guess it was. And I watched it for years and I kind of zoned out at the end because I just got tired of WWE and I didn't want to watch anything having to do with wrestling. Really, I just got so sick of it. But one of the things I liked about it was the way they did feminism, because they did do feminism, but they did feminism right. They empowered women, and I felt as if though they were really empowering females here, but they didn't do it in the way that WWE did it. Where WWE would have these women, they would go out there and they would slap men every damn week. Or you would have like 5 or 6 girls beating up one dude who looked like he could probably get beat up by one of these chicks. Ellsworth, that idiot. They didn't do it that way, or have a guy just bump around for a girl for 5 minutes. They actually had fights, and they would do it in a realistic way. And they made the girl look like she was really the man's equal. And the girl would get her moves in, the guy would get his moves in. They bumped for each other, and I have to ask the feminists something. What do you think would be more empowering to females? For the guy to go out there and to bump around and make it look unreal and fake? Or do you think it would be more realistic if they went out there, had an equal fight for about 20 minutes, have both of them get their shit in, and then have the girl win and have her go over and put the title on her, whatever you want to do? And wouldn't that help women more than, hey, let's just go out there and just make the guy look like an idiot? And that's what WWE had been doing for the last 5 years that I watched. And it eventually just got to a point where I'm like, I'm not watching this pile of shit anymore. And I stopped watching. But beyond that, I love the way they really made it look counterculture. I love the overall presentation of the shit. I love the way it was produced like a fight club. And you really felt like this was some kind of real fight club almost, even though it was kind of video gamey. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Lucha Libre and the Mexican background, and Latino culture, and Aztec, and that subplot of the Aztec medallions, and the calling it the temple, calling the arena or the I don't know, probably a gymnasium, maybe a ballroom, I'm not sure. But anyways, they called it the temple, and they had this real, it really connects with the audience in a way that I don't think anything has on a personal, intimate level since ECW. Maybe early TNA is the last thing I can think of. So I really enjoyed that, and they did a lot of different types of wrestling. They did hardcore wrestling. They did, in fact, I remember, and this goes back to feminism, I remember when Chavo was turning heel, and I think it was on the first episode of Lucha Underground, they did an angle where he was pissed about something, and I forget what, but Sexy Star turns around, and then Chavo just clocks this girl, just hits her right in the fucking head with a chair, and they're still doing chair shots, and only did they do a chair shot? They did it on a chick, and I know that's dangerous and it can cause a concussion, and maybe they shouldn't do that, but they did a chair shot to a girl, to the head, directly to the head of a girl, and it's like, if you're a man watching that, you're coming out of that with a lot more respect for her and what she does than you are if you're watching one of WWE's divas. And in my opinion, they're still largely divas. So I found that to be very interesting. And there's a number of other things I found to be very interesting about the product and the show. I remember once they did a low blow actually on a female. There was about 3 or 4 low blows. There was a I crit match, or it was a no moss match, no give up match between Sexy Star and I can't think of her name, Mariposa, or the girl that she had an obsession with moths, like the bug, a moth. But they did this low blow where she actually kicked a chair to the girl's vagina. You're never going to see that in WWE. And I'm sorry if that offends women, but hey, you do it to guys all the time, and you want to be equal, right? But it was a crazy ass match, and like there was chair shots, and it was a brawl, man. It was like a street fight between these two girls, and it was a main event. For one, I think it was for a title. It was a grudge match, I know that. And you had Joey Ryan on the show. Joey Ryan's one of the safest workers in the business. No one has to worry about getting injured if you work with Joey Ryan. So whether you're a man or a woman, I mean, everyone comes out better, and you basically just collect your paycheck and go home. He's funny as hell. He flips people with his dick, and he's hilarious. So I like him a lot. And of course, they're defunct and they're de facto now, and they're out of business. But they were really cool, and they did a lot of the Japanese hard style too, like Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer, he likes that. 5-star matches. And I doubt, just like with ECW, he never gave these people a 5-star match. I guarantee you. But it was fun, and it was enjoyable. And I know Vince Russo liked it, and he talked about watching it. And he kind of changed a little bit, because he talked about back then he always wanted the girls to fight the guys. And now he says that he's not so much in favor of that. So I don't really know what happened there. But he liked it because that's exactly up his alley, or up his, alley, not insult. That's not insult. I know it sounds bad. That's not what I meant. It's up my alley, okay? But the point is, yeah, it's up my house. Fuck me. The point is, it was a really good fucking match, and they had these really good matches and crazy fucking moments and shit that they would do, and the presentation and the production of the show and the way they did things was crazy and over the top and different and out of this world, crazy different from anything you're going to see in WWE. And it is probably the best wrestling since the Attitude Era, certainly since about 2011, because I know TNA was pretty good up until about mid 2011, and oddly enough, it was actually my birthday was the day TNA started to suck, believe it or not. So that my luck, because I remember when it really started to decline or go south. But anyway, the point is, TNA was still very good up until 2011. And this is the best wrestling you'll see since then. And it was a very good show, and they had a very good presentation. And I guess that's all I want to say. I guess if I have any critique of the product, or I have any issue with the product or problem, or kind of, just whatever ridicule to say about them, it is the simple fact that I thought the mask at first, even though I know that's a big part of Mexican luchador culture and luchador or lucha libre, I still thought that because America is such a celebrity-oriented culture, I don't think they needed so many masks in the first season or two. But as the next couple of seasons went on, they quickly got rid of those, and they had less masks. And I thought that was probably a positive change, because you can get away with a few masked characters, or for example, say Kane. But I think too many masks doesn't work in America, because we're very celebrity oriented, and we really want to see who's behind the damn mask. And that's one reason I can never get into football, and I don't like football, is because I want to see who's behind the helmet. I want to know who the fuck I'm watching and why I'm watching them, and who is it? Who's this person? And that's one of the things I always liked about wrestling. But I thought they did a very good job of presenting the show, and there's nothing else like that out right now. So that's all. D666.